Episode 6 of All on Green coming to you here on this April Fool's Day, and I hope the A's are playing us a big joke after that first road trip. But you know what's not a joke is FOCO. If you're an A's fan, you already know this season is about showing up and repping no matter what, and that's exactly where FOCO comes in. FOCO has some of the best officially licensed A's gear out there, from bobbleheads, hats, hoodies, collectibles, you name it. Whether you're building out the man cave, gearing up for game day, or just want to rep the green and gold, they've got you covered. They're always dropping new limited edition merch too. So if you see something you like, don't wait. Get it while it's hot. Hit the link in our description. Also at the bottom of this screen on YouTube. Support the boys and go check out FOCO. Big Stud is rocking the Hawaiian shirt from FOCO. I'm still waiting on my sun hat shipped from FOCO as well. So I'm excited to rep that this summer here in Texas. But tough first 6 games, tough Atlanta series as well. My friend, how we doing? How we feeling?
I had to rock the Hawaii vibe just because I needed some tropical thoughts after the last couple series. So I had to rock this one today. But yeah, folks, comfortable. And like Robbie said, everyone go check it out.
Yes, absolutely. Do so. And FOCO's great, man. They have a lot of great sweatshirts too if you need to chill it up in your home, if you're blasting at AC like I will this summer. But another tough series, man. The A's were just outplayed yet again in Atlanta. The catchers put on a show, man. Drake Baldwin, former third-round pick out of Missouri State from 2022. He's impressive. He looks really good so far. Just a very young, solid catcher, pushing out Sean Murphy out of that role. It's kind of funny how that whole thing has really played out for Sean. A's really couldn't slow him down whatsoever. And then, of course, our guy, Shea Bangaliers, bang me to tears. He's just been on a tear. It's just been unfortunate that he's been so hot and the rest of the team is just not really holding up their side of their weight. But what do you think about these 3 games, starting pitching? Just kind of run down with me here. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, not overly surprising. My guess was 1 out of 3. I was hoping I was going to be wrong in the right direction, but I don't know. If you're telling me we're getting this pitching from the staff, and I mean, the bullpen wasn't great, but they weren't terrible, and they're 1-5. I mean, this is just kind of a very surprising start. So again, I thought it would be 8-7, 6-9 type of games, but really, really bad start overall. And I don't know. I just think that they easily should have won 2 out of 3 with what they got from the rotation. I thought Savali was very good. Severino wasn't very good. He battled pretty hard today, so I was surprised he only gave up those 2. But bullpen, when you see Alvarado, who's been pretty bad to start the year, and I don't know. Overall, it's just very depressing. But I don't know. None of the bats even really turned around. Wilson looked a little better, and Shea continued to be hot, but he's accountable for 8 of the 17 runs that they've scored this year. So it's just, putrid start.
Just banking on Shea pretty much to do something right now on the offensive side of the ball. But I did hear Kotze after the game mention that Severino was dealing with a little bit of an illness, so he's battling through that. He's battling through some command issues. But it wasn't just him with the command issues. Jacob Lopez also walked 5 in his start in game 1 of this series, so not exactly an encouraging start from Jacob Lopez. I mean, he did have a little bit of a shorter spring as well. But, you mentioned Severino today, just kind of battling through. Alvarado doing him 0 favors. He gives up both of those inherited runners as well as another one for himself as well. So we mentioned this before the season started. Inherited runners is going to be huge for this bullpen just because the roles for each guy is just so crazy. Even on the win in game 2, after Savali does his job doing 5 solid innings, he got out of a tricky spot in that 5th inning. It's clear his day is done. Okay, and then it's just kind of like, who are the A's going to go with the rest of the way here? 6 through 9, what are we doing? And it ends up being Harris, Sterner, Barlow, and then Leiter, which was really interesting to see Leiter Jr. in the 9th inning because, pure contact guy is not really my strong suit for a closer. I don't think he's really going to be the closer. I think it's just a matchup thing. But that night, Hogan Harris looks great. Sterner gets out of a tough jam. He has a couple of strikeouts. Barlow throws 9 strikes out of 10 pitches. He looked great. So if that's going to be the case, if you're going to have a good veteran guy like Savali give you 5 solid innings and get out of a tough escape against a really good lineup, and then we have that at the bullpen where they just kind of miss barrels the rest of the way, if it's going to work, it's going to work. But, it makes me nervous. Every single guy out there is just, besides pretty much Hogan Harris and maybe even Luis Medina, every other guy makes me pretty nervous. And Barlow's history in his career too, just him giving up long ball, contact kind of guy. I don't know, man. I just think if the A's are going to be serious, it's only been 6 games, obviously, but if the A's are going to be serious about contending this year, I do think they're going to want to add somebody into this bullpen. And, it could come from Vegas. It could come from another team. It could come from the waiver wire. But I don't know, man. Luis Medina, again, looked pretty good today in the loss. But what do you see? Like, what are we feeling about this bullpen? Because the roles are just so random.
Yeah, I closer by committee for sure. But my thinking when Kotze said that Severino was sick, I think everyone on the team must be sick, and Shea's been quarantining for the first couple of weeks because it's absolutely absurd because everyone just looks lethargic out there. No one even seems like they care. It is depressing as an A's fan because we just put so much of our own blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak, and no one acts like they care. It's just like Butler, they're losing by multiple runs, and he's just out there laughing with his former Atlanta teammate across the dugout. I don't know if you saw that, but he's just smiling. He's just like, he doesn't care. And that's my fear is a lot of these guys got their money and it's like, okay, now what? So the only silver lining I think is Kurtz. Maybe he's going to be a little bit cheaper if he continues to get off this start. But bullpen wise, I was shocked that Leiter went in the 9th. I think Booney called it before the year that Harris might be the guy. I actually feel comfortable with him, even righty lefty, because he throws mid 90s. So I'm not too worried when he goes out there. Alvarado, I think we both were pretty high on, but he just hasn't looked good at all. The control issues, and I think these guys that do have these control issues, they start forcing it a little bit more because they're looking to throw strikes, and then they're a lot more hittable. So it's going to be really tough because, I mean, even if they get 5 or 6 good innings from Savale and Springs to Severino, the bullpen every single time, even with the 4-run lead in Toronto that they blew, and even the 4-run lead that they had against Atlanta, we were texting. I'm like, of course they're going to blow this, and they tried their best to blow it. So, no real positives in the bullpen yet. Sterner's been okay, but yeah, I don't trust Louis Medina, and I don't trust JT throughout the year. So, I think you're right. It's got to be some kind of trade or something.
Yeah, and Sterner shows his ability to get out of things that he starts as well. He was fired up after his strikeout to end his outing. Barlow's looked pretty solid so far, but again, his history, I think he's going to run into some trouble eventually. He just kind of has. But Hogan has looked very solid, and I think if you're looking for someone with velocity out of this bullpen, it's Alvarado and Harris 100%. Nobody else is really bringing any type of high heat. And Alvarado's issue has just been he's getting to 2 strikes and then he's just not putting guys away. It happened today, and he's giving up 3 runs. I mean, only one of them is his, but he had a couple of guys with 2 strikes. He just can't quite put them away. And it sucks because his stuff plays the most, I think, out of everybody because he has the nastiest arsenal of pitches, and he throws the hardest out of everybody in that pen. I do think he'll settle down and find a groove eventually, because the A's need him to be that kind of guy. But right now, as we stand, I mean, all of the trust I have currently is pretty much in Hogan Harris, and I like Sterner quite a bit. Even Leiter's gonna have to earn it a little bit more, I think, as we go. But I mean, he's looked very solid so far. But it's really just committee bullpen type stuff, and that typically is a recipe for so much unknowingness. I wouldn't say disaster just yet, but it's a recipe for just nerves. And I don't know who's going when. I don't know who's going where. We're just looking at matchups, and we all know the 9th inning is going to be the hardest 3 to get. You can't just keep plugging and placing guys into the 9th inning. You need a guy who you can trust. You need a guy who you can just go and say, hey, the 9th inning's yours. I don't care, righty, lefty, go get 3 outs. And right now, it just doesn't feel like they have that locked up whatsoever. And it's probably going to take quite a bit of time to figure this thing out. But on the other side, behind the guys pitching, the defense has an up and down series for sure. I think Wilson's play, the bare hand play, was great. His arm looks a little bit better this year, I would say. I think he's throwing a little bit harder for sure. And then, of course, Denzel Clark, dude. Home run robbery is incredible. That's an extremely low catch rate percentage, and he's making it look pretty easy out there. And I love with Denzel how he gets behind every single fly ball in the outfield, and he's setting himself up to make good throws. He just looks like such a good, fundamentally sound outfielder. I just wish he would just drive the ball a little bit more. His downward swing is such a killer to watch for me. Defensively, how you feeling? I know you have one guy in mind that we need to mention. How are we feeling on defense so far, 6 games in?
Yeah, it hasn't felt like a disaster like some of these rough starts like the 2015 where they led the league in errors. But, Muncie's the one that is big cause for concern. And I think the bat is strong enough that I think he can outweigh some of the issues that he's had in the field. But I don't know what it is because I feel like he gets to everything, and he has a decent arm. It's just I don't know. When I watch him, I think the one thing where it stands out is the pop flies. Like he is the Mona Lisa, just painting, like just jumping up the Renaissance paintings of like I don't know what it is. It's he's like 15
Yeah, he
feet in
looks
the air, and
uncomfortable. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't get it. So that's been a concern, but I think overall you nailed it. I think Wilson's looked pretty good out there. The outfield, is actually pretty solid. Kurt's a good first baseman. Shea's looked pretty good back there. So I think Muncy, but I still am not overly worried because they're asking to play a new position anyways, and it hasn't really affected the bat because even some of these outs he's made, they're loud outs. So I've been very impressed with the bat, but fielding hasn't really been the problem. It's been the batters.
Yeah, and the A's have asked Max Muncy to play a lot of different spots in the infield already in his early career, and it looked like he was coming up as pretty much as a second baseman, it looked like, through the minors, and now they're asking him to make this switch to the other side of the diamond. It's a lot, okay? And third base is a hard position to play. We've seen some premier defense from prior A's players in our lives. We go all the way back to Eric Chavez. I know Jack Hanahan wasn't all that good of a hitter, but he was a great defender, and then obviously Matt Chapman was back there. So as A's fans, we've been spoiled with really good defensive third basemen. And now with Max Muncy, it's definitely going to be a learning curve for him, and he's going to have to settle into it. I just don't want his defense to affect his bat because he did make that error when he was trying to turn two in Atlanta. He makes a bad throw. Then he goes up next at bat, and he strikes out. He's clearly frustrated, and that can't move over to the other side of his game. Okay. I need him to just be a goldfish mentality, especially at third. It's going to be hard, man. But it was good to see a little bit of frustration out of him. I know it seems like he cares. I know Jeff McNeil cares. A little hot mic moment for him today after he struck out after a crazy foul tip, and then Baldwin catches it with a bare hand. McNeil's going to definitely give you a few hot mic moments. But I just wanted to talk about, because you mentioned it earlier, just some guys who maybe look like they are just kind of going through the motions early on. Man, when do we start to worry about Kurtz and Butler? Because Nick Kurtz looks like he is just praying to hit the ball right now with some of his swings.
I don't know if it's just pressing. I don't know if it's like the own pressure that he's put on himself of, hey, I just turned down this extension and everyone knows that I did, and now I'm out and trying to prove myself. And I don't know. I think the same thing kind of happened with Butler last year to start the season, and then he obviously improved a little bit, but it's just you get in your head, and baseball is the number one sport where that matters the most. So I don't know. It's hard to say after 6 games that you should be that worried, but at the same time, he didn't have a great spring. He had a good close to last season, so all we have to go off of his spring training and now, but maybe something's bothering him. Like, I don't know. I mean, his track record is he's a stud, but he played 30 games in the minors, and that's the problem. That's why the sophomore slump's a real thing, because you get up, people finally get tape on you your second year, and they attack weak zones. And he looks lost every time he's come up to the plate. And that's one thing with Rooker. He hasn't looked as great this season, obviously, as last season, but he's making some adjustments, and he's actually starting to put the ball in play. And it seems like Kurtz is like, I'm going to hit a 490-foot homer or I'm going to strike out. And it's like, that's, first of all, not what you want leading off. And second of all, we just need some runs in general. So why are you going to swing for the fences? It's just not, I don't know. It's kind of selfish baseball. Some of those guys that are like, I'm just going to get mine. I'm going to try and, swing out of my shoes. But I don't know. If I had to go 1 to 10, I'd probably put like a 7, to be honest. What about you?
Yeah, I think just because it's so early and he hasn't been home yet, the team that's coming up this weekend, who is coming into West Sacramento, he completely obliterated last year. I mean, what did he hit? 500 against them in 10 games. He had that massive game where he hits a bajillion homers. He's hit almost 10 homers against them, just against Houston last year. So I do think maybe he's just got to settle in a little bit to the season. I think the off-field stuff has been absolutely weighing on him. And he's a young cat, dude. We forget how young this dude is. I mean, he was fresh out of Wake Forest, straight pretty much into AA, AAA, major leagues. It was like snap, 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 quick, 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 go. And it's starting to slow down. I think everyone is starting to figure out how to pitch him a little bit more. Now he has to make that adjustment to the adjustment, and this is the hardest thing to do. This is what you just mentioned, sophomore slumps. This is why you struggle in your second year, because the adjustment to you is the hardest one to adjust to. So now he has to make just, I think, major tweaks at the plate, because he is missing by a lot. His swings and misses have been ugly. And some of these at-bats, I'm like, oh my, like this guy hit how many homers last year? If you were to watch Nick Kurtz in these first 6 games, and he only played, he didn't play today. So if you were to watch him in these first 5 games, and you were to say he was by far the best rookie last year and one of the best power hitters in all of baseball. If you were to say that and then watch him play, you'd be like, how? It's because of the swings that he's been taking. It's just been crazy to see him whiff so much. And yeah, he struck out quite a bit last year too, but this year it's just been, I don't think he hasn't shown much fight at the plate. And then with Lawrence Butler too, 2 times today, I know he's pressing. He wants to have a good series back home in Georgia, but he's pressing today because he got a pitch down the middle. I would say something else typically, but down the middle, and he's late, and he's fouling it off to the left. And then again, later at bat, he gets a fastball, I think in a 1-1 count, fouls it off late to the left. I'm like, those are pitches that he needs to be murdering into the right center field gap or even pulling it for a double or a homer. But he's just late. He's just dragging a little bit. And I think it's just, early season, just kind of slumbering into it. But I was expecting a little bit more out of Lawrence in a series in Atlanta where he's trying to show out for all of his hometown friends and family. I was a little bit disappointed. And his batting average obviously doesn't look great. The mentality, the platoon thing is kind of up in the air right now for him because he did start against a lefty and then last in the week in Toronto, he's not. So I don't know if they really know what to do with Lawrence quite yet. And this is a pretty big year for him, second year of a big contract. So I'm 1 to 10 on both of them. For Kurtz, I'm about a 6. I think he just needs to settle down. Butler, I'm at like a 7. I think from what we saw at the end of last year and now beginning the first, week of the season, he's dragging. He looks late on fastballs. I'm really concerned about just how he's going to turn a switch on and get back into the Lawrence Butler that we know and love. But like I said, man, going into this Houston series, it's been good to see Jacob Wilson in the leadoff spot. He's looked like he's settled down a little bit after a tough couple of games in Toronto. He got rid of the porn stash, and he's like, all right, I'm going to get going again. And he's looked good. 3 hits in Atlanta. He has a couple of doubles in his pocket now, so looking a little bit better. Is he going to be the leadoff guy going into this weekend, do you think?
Probably. I think he looked good enough. And that's the thing is I've seen a lot of Ace Twitter. They're like, Wilson's not your typical leadoff hitter. He doesn't walk and whatnot. It's like, that's true. But also, who else do you want? Because I think the majority of A's fans don't want Kurtz leading off. Clearly, we don't want Shea leading off. So that's the whole point. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I was happy that Wilson was leading off. And I think that that's probably going to be the case moving forward.
And, hopefully with Nick Kurtz facing the Houston Astros again, maybe it wakes him up a little bit. A team that he's familiar playing against and familiar just mashing against. The official numbers from last year was 10 games played. He had 46 plate appearances. Let's see here. He had 21 hits in 42 at-bats. Okay, it was 6 singles, 6 doubles, 9 homers, 18 RBIs, 4 walks, only 9 strikeouts. He hit 500 on base of a 543, slugging of 1.286, and an OPS of 1.829, total bases 54. I mean, that one game really sticks out in Houston where, he gets the homer off of a position player too. But, I'm hoping that, familiar team that I'm comfortable mashing against will just kind of turn him back on. He has a good weekend here in West Sacramento, and then we can kind of get rolling again, and then we can start talking about the contract stuff again, and then we can go from there. But I do think all this off the field stuff is weighing on him for sure.
No, 100%. And I think, what you said, he wasn't just the best rookie last year by a lot. He was one of the best rookies in MLB history.
Ever.
And some people think he literally had one of the best seasons ever. So maybe 6 or 7 is kind of high, 6, 7, but overall, maybe it is a little bit less because it's 6 games. So I don't know. Maybe I need to pump in 5 games because he really didn't play today. But
right.
I texted you yesterday, or you did. You said, when's Kurt's first day off? I'm like, it's got to be tomorrow. And I actually didn't know deep down that they would. But clearly they think something's wrong. So hopefully he gets right. And, next podcast we pop on and he hits 3 homers next series and we're good to go.
Yeah. 2 days off straight for him. I think it's going to be a nice just reset, just relax. You're our guy. We still believe in you. Let's just, it's a great idea personally, just to leave him, keep him away from Chris Sale, especially right now, the way he's looking. But, I think it's encouraging that the A's have cut their strikeouts down pretty much a little bit over half. You struck out 50 times against Toronto. You only struck out 24 times against Atlanta. We're trending towards the right things, right? And they put the ball in play a ton today, which is good. Yeah. The next step is just finding barrels and just finding some grass. And I think we're on the right trajectory there as in terms of strikeouts, but you only score 6 runs against Atlanta in 3 games. They didn't really look all that. They didn't have a ton of chances today either. Just not a really ton of guys on base. But that's Chris Sale. He's going to do what he does, and that's where you have to avoid, Severino getting into those early command issues, and then you're just kind of behind the 8 ball right away. So today was a tough one, uphill battle from the get-go. But we're on to Houston. Okay, home opener, coming back to West Sac. It's Christian Javier against Jeffrey Springs on Friday night. Javier went 4 2/3, allowing 6 earned runs, including 2 homers in that, against the Angels. Okay, the Astros have won 5 in a row, though, after sweeping Boston. And Altuve, Alvarez, Correa are off to incredible starts. Houston as a team is the best scoring offense in the American League this early season. More of the same, pretty much, from the Astros. Just a really good offensive attack from them, and it's like the Astros' MO since they've been good. Since they turned that switch on, they've just always been a good offensive team. But the A's are facing 2 starters who struggled in their first 2 starts, in Javier and Imai, which he only went 2 2/3, 4 earned against the Angels as well. So what are your keys going into this weekend series? First home games for the A's before they head back to New York.
Yeah, I think what we talked about last podcast is just putting the ball in play. I mean, it seems simple, but it's even Kurtz. It's just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to hit the ball hard. Whether I get out, whether I hit a home run, it's like I'm just going to hit a line drive. And baseball's random, so obviously at times it's going to go straight to the right fielder or whatnot, or it's going to be a hard grounder to second, but it's just good contact. And I think situational awareness, I think you text me the Soderstrom double play. It's just like the A's haven't done anything right, and they haven't played well situationally. So I think hitting the ball, doing the little things that matter. I think clean baseball. I think, if you're going to beat a team like the Astros who are coming in hot, you got to play mistake-free baseball. So I think, putting the ball in play, clean defense, and get back to the fundamentals.
Yeah, 100%. And I didn't even mention Christian Walker, too. He's off to a pretty decent start after kind of a down year for him in Houston last year. I think they're expecting a lot out of him in that lineup if they want to be, pretty competitive and trying to win this division. But yeah, they've won 5 in a row. They just swept Boston. Boston's off to a tough start as well. And again, man, Boston's got a good roster. The A's have a pretty solid roster. I would take Boston's roster 100%. But that's early. Boston's 1-5. The A's are 1-5. A lot of teams are kind of looking up right now and being like, oh, we're 6 games in. We're not playing that great so far. It's baseball, man. It's going to take a minute. We're going to figure it out in a few weeks here. I know that there's a little bit of panic in some A's group chats right now, just like the entire hitting side of things. And I get it, man. Baseball is a tough sport to be patient with. I try to remind everybody the season is long. It's so easy, though, to just overreact to one game because on Tuesday, Jacob Wilson has a perfect bunt single. It looks like they're doing everything right in that end of the ball game. And then they come out today and it's ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. So it's a little bit of, we got to be patient, but also take some of these notes a little bit seriously because I do think some of these swings have been a little bit concerning. But you mentioned earlier about Brent Rooker making some adjustments. I think a lot of guys have been making solid adjustments at the plate. And just they're looking a little bit more competitive at the plate as we go. We just need to find that motor for Nick Kurtz because if Kurtz can get going here this weekend, I think everyone will just take a step back and be like, all right, we can chill a little bit. Maybe we can focus a little bit more on Lawrence Butler. And then maybe if Denzel Clark doesn't start hitting, you can ease him up a little bit as well. It really just, I don't want to put too much pressure on Kurtz. But if he gets going, dude, like the rest of this team is going to look so much better. And that's what it really comes down to. So that's my key for this weekend. Let's get Kurtz going again, dude. I just need a good series out of him. Just get like 3 or 4 hits. They don't need to be bombs. I just need him to get on base a little bit more and just show that the guy that we want to sign long-term, that's where he is. He's always on base. He's always doing something positive offensively, and he's picking balls out of the dirt at first base. So that's my key. Let's get Nick Kurtz going.
No, I love it. And that's the thing is hitting, as cliche as it is or cheesy, hitting's contagious. I mean, it really is. So you see some guys like you get up and it's Kurtz hits a homer and he goes back to the dugout and you see something from the pitcher. He's like, oh, he's tipping here a little bit or whatnot. I think it matters. But I do think Boston fans should, I've seen Portnoy. He's been freaking out. But it's the meme, Stanley in the office where he has the other black guy. And he's just giving a little and Stanley rolls his eyes. It's like the A's 1-5 and Boston 1-5. So A's fans are just like, but it's a little different. So it is bad though, because the Astros were my under and the Red Sox are my over. So really fun start for both those. But I did hit the win. I took the under in the first game of the Brave series. So that one went under pretty easily and got a couple picks that I like for this weekend as well.
Yeah. You want to tease a couple of them for this weekend?
Yeah, so it's actually tomorrow. So A's lines haven't come out yet, obviously
Yeah.
with the day off tomorrow. So one that I really like, a parlay that I'm going to be doing is the Royals tomorrow, -162, and then it's Mets Giants as well. So I like the Mets to bounce back. They've had a pretty bad start, so that's about +200. And I was actually looking at the board for futures, and I found one that I loved was Otani MVP and Yamamoto Cy Young, and that's +850. I think the NL Cy Young race is going to be probably a 3-man race. Skeens, Yamamoto, and I think take your pick. And Otani, you saw him pitch yesterday. I don't know how he's not going to win the MVP if he's going to pitch 6 innings a game. And I think he threw 80 or 90 pitches yesterday and looked phenomenal. So
Yeah.
they're off to a pretty slow start overall, but I do like that one. That's one future I've been keeping my eye on.
Good to know. I do think Yamamoto is a very interesting Cy Young pick just because, Paul Skeens' opening day wasn't great, but yesterday he was pretty good. So he's going to be fine overall. I do think Skeens probably still runs away with it, but there's always the case of maybe he runs into an IL situation where he has to miss a couple of weeks, okay? That's the difference right there in some Cy Youngs. Some guys have better seasons, but they just missed a few starts, and their numbers just don't look as good, and they don't have as many innings, and that's what kills them in the end. So Yamamoto's – that's an interesting one. I do think the Dodgers are they're just kind of sputtering to start. They look solid still. Like they're going to be a great team, obviously. But I think overall, the National League West, like if you're going to get after it, now's the time for sure. But I just wanted to close. We have a pretty quick show today. Andrew's got to go pick up his kid. We have a lot going on. I literally came home I flew from Oakland to Austin today, and I came in and sat down and did the podcast.
You thought the A's were still playing.
Yeah, literally. Oops. I forgot they moved. But there is a farm update for you guys. Las Vegas, the Aviators, did have opening day. Every other farm team for every organization starts tomorrow on Thursday. But the Aviators have started, and the guys that we've been keeping an eye on from spring, they had a hot spring. They're already off to a hot start. In Vegas, Henry Bolte, he looks really good so far. He did have a little bit of a mishap in center where he went back on a ball and just kind of hit it on the heel. He just missed it. It was pretty routine. But I think when you're comparing center field, Denzel Clark's obviously going to win that battle every single time anyway. It's about hitting. Henry Bolte is going to be able to hit, and so far he's done that. Okay, his OPS so far is as of 120 when I was in the air, and I was still checking on the game because they were playing today against OKC. His OPS was over 1,000. He's looked great so far. He had a homer today. And then Zach Geloff as well. I'm not giving up on Zach Geloff. His OPS is 1.325 so far. And it could be a little bit lower. Again, I didn't see the end of that game. But
rough.
If he also played center as well. So I do think there's going to be a little bit of a carousel for center field for the Aviators, just who's going to play there the most. I think that's a pretty good tell that the A's are looking at many guys who can play the position because they understand what's probably to come with Denzel Clark at the plate. So they want to get guys as many reps as they can in center just so they can potentially be ready to go if the call is needed in a few weeks, maybe a month. But so far, man, those two guys, and then also Junior Perez is off to a really hot start as well. But out of Bolte and Geloff, those guys most likely candidates to be called up. Who do you think? Is it Clark or is it Hernandez, the first guy to maybe say if they're not hitting, are they gone?
Hernandez
sent back down.
I think. Yeah, I think for sure Hernandez, just because we saw it today with Clark in center field. Like Hernandez doesn't have that tool. So no. I think they're gonna give some leeway to Clark, and I think they're probably gonna give him at least a few months. And I think it's not as noticeable now how much of a disappointment he is at the plate just because everyone's kind of sucking. But I think when the offense gets going and it's like, okay, cool, let's pitch around our 8-hitter, Max Muncy, to get to Denzel Clark. Like, I think that says something. But I think Hernandez is probably the first one to go. But, yeah, Bolte and Geloff, I think, probably will be up at some point this year. And, I'm hoping it's sooner than later.
Geloff actually homered as well today. So his OPS is 1.521.
So you underestimated it. So,
yeah, and Bolte is 1.119. So looking great for those guys. And Brett Harris, too. He's another guy who could potentially find his way on the team this year. He's off to a solid start. But
jumped to look good yesterday, by the way.
Yes, he did. I was just going to mention him, too. And Jack Perkins out of the bullpen today went 3 innings, 2 hits, 4 Ks. Nothing else on the board there for him. So that's good. That's a very good sign for Jack Perkins if he wants to find his way onto the Major League roster. Probably going to have to pitch long in a bullpen. And if he can do it, he can do it, man. I'll take anybody if they can be effective. Okay, especially right now with I just don't feel I feel so nervous for every guy that comes out there. Like, I just don't feel like this is what they should be doing. Like, this isn't their role. And it just feels like a little bit Kotze keeps in the wrong things every now and then with the bullpen. But it's going to be such a work in progress for this bullpen. I hope that they can figure something out in these next coming weeks, just so we're not guessing as fans who's coming in and what's going to happen next, especially if starting pitching like this Atlanta series isn't going to get into the 6th inning at all. That's when things can get kind of tricky for the A's going just forward, and not even just for it could get tricky. You get into the longer days if you don't have days off. How many guys are you pitching in the bullpen? How many guys do you want to go long? How many guys do you want to go 2 innings, 3 innings? It becomes a factor for sure. So I need starting pitching to get deeper into games, and I need this bullpen to be shored up 100%. You got to get out of here. Any last words from my friend?
No, I've been banging the drum to get Kotze fired, but at the same time, I've been thinking about the last couple of years. I think Force is one of the best GMs in baseball, but at the same time, he's constrained. There's certain things he's handcuffed a little bit, like with the actual money that they spend and the direction that ownership wanted to go. So it wasn't showing that he was as good as people thought, right? And then now you look at the couple drafts they've nailed with Kurtz and with Wilson and with Butler and the trades that they made, which Soderstrom, they made the Leo trade, they made the Shea trade, drafting Arnold. So he's shown it's like, hey, you know what? Now I can get the ball rolling. And I think it's kind of similar with Kotze, because it's like, what is he supposed to do? I think the lineup needs to be tweaked, but even with the bullpen, like, it's not really on him. And that's what's tough. Yeah. And that's why I think he might have a larger runway. But one thing I want to keep an eye on for A's fans is if it doesn't go well, Bob Melvin's sitting in the dugout. So that's something to keep an eye on.
That's probably why they hired him. I'm just saying. He doesn't really have a role. So it's like, if it does need to be made, I wouldn't be shocked.
Special advisor to the next firing is kind of his title. So.
Yeah, pretty much what it kind of feels like, honestly. Or Bobby Crosby can step in. I'd be okay with that.
I wouldn't mind that either.
Love me some Bones. So, yeah. Hey, guys, for listening, make sure you go check out Foco. They have some great deals on stuff right now, man. They got 10% off. Use our code. Find that link. Check them out. And go A's. We'll see you on Sunday night.